Hey guys, it's Drew again. As you guys probably know, I love sharing stories about players and cards and sets in history that we haven't never heard before. But I'm going to be honest, the player I'm going to highlight today, I'm probably not going to teach you anything you don't already know about. But that doesn't mean it's not worth retelling. You want to see who I'm referring to? Well, let's check it out. So the player I'm referring to, which you probably already figured out from the thumbnail and the title, is none other than Leroy Satchel Paige. And I don't have a ton of his stuff, but to be quite honest, there's not a ton of stuff out there. I mean, there's only three mainstream cards made of him when he was a player, but I do have two of them, and I am going to show them off. So why is it about Satchel Paige that makes it so interesting? I mean, there's so much about him. He's one of those players that's just so intriguing, and when you read the stories or rehear the stories being told, there's just something interesting about him. And to be honest, I think it's one thing. He had swagger. I mean, he was dripping with swagger, whether it was back when he was a young kid coming up, whether it was when he was in the Negro Leagues or he made his appearance in the major leagues, whether it was the way he retired or after his retirement, his Hall of Fame induction, all the way up to the way he died. He walked with swagger. He lived with it. And honestly, collectors and people, even people that aren't huge baseball fans, know who Satchel Paige is because of that swagger. So if you don't know who Satchel Paige is, I'm going to share you a little bit of stuff. Satchel Paige, his real name was Leroy Paige. And the reason he was called Satchel was as a young kid, probably 9, 10, 11, he would go down to the train depot and he would carry people's baggage for them and they would pay him per bag. And he was a smart kid. I mean, he was always sort of thinking outside the box, my kind of guy. And what he did was he knew if he could carry more bags at once, then he would make more money in a shorter amount of time. So he kind of developed I don't really know how to describe it, but from what I understand, it was a pole that went across his shoulders and had some straps. And he sort of carried multiple bags hanging from this pole at once, which means one carry equaled, say, 4 bags or 6 bags. That's times 6 the payment. Good for him. And by doing this, he hustled, he got out there. Again, probably a lot of charisma, no problem talking to people, talking to, tourists or visitors or people coming in and off the train. And he developed this reputation to where he got this nickname, Satchel, because he could carry more satchels quicker and make more money. Now, he was always out there, and I don't really know the history of it, but I do know that he got himself in a bit of trouble. And he ended up in like a boys' reform school for a few years in his teenage years, but that's where he really learned how to pitch. Probably got really street smart too. Ended up pitching in the Negro Leagues. I don't have the statistics in front of me, but there was sort of this aura around him. He was just always out there, pitching and a showman, a true showman. I mean, stories about making the outfield sit down or drawing everybody in because he was going to strike 3 people out on 3 pitches, telling the batter what was going to come. I mean, whether it was in a high stakes Negro Leagues game or a barnstorming tour, Satchel Paige went where the money was, and he never disappointed. He was there. He was a showman. He was a baseball player, yes, but he was a showman. So by the time integration happened with Jackie Robinson in 1947, Satchel Paige was actually considered by Branch Rickey to be one of the people, but he was a little too old. I mean, by that time he was around 40 years old, and just way too old, and so he was passed on. But it didn't take long before someone else saw him and brought him in, and he was brought in by the Cleveland Indians, and he was brought on not just for a show or a spectator. He came in and he actually pitched really well. In fact, 1948, as you guys know, the Cleveland Indians won their World Series, and Satchel Paige was a big part of that. He went on to become the first black player to be elected to an American League All-Star game, and then eventually he got inducted into the Hall of Fame, and he was the first Hall of Famer inducted from the Negro Leagues, and that is a whole thanks to Ted Williams, and you probably know the story of him in his speech saying it was a shame that people like Josh Gibson and Satchel Paige weren't in the great halls where they should have been, and that started a spark and a roll to where Satchel Paige was inducted. And but again, I can tell you stories, and I can read the lore, and I can tell you his list of top 10 things, and the funny things, and the crazy things, and the mind-blowing statistics. But honestly, you can look all that stuff up. What I really want to show you is I want to show you my meager collection, but still a collection nonetheless of my Satchel Paige items. And I don't know which direction to go in, so I'm going to go with chronologically how I got these things. So the very first thing was I got a card, and I remember, years and years ago, I had put this card on my Christmas list, and my wife ended up finding this card. She knew who Satchel Paige was, but she really didn't have a deep understanding until every time she went on eBay, she was trying to win this card for me for Christmas, and she would get sniped at the last second. And I remember so many times in that Christmas season, I'd be in our bedroom, and our office is right outside of our bedroom, and I'd say, "You coming in?" She said, "Hold on just a second. I'll be in there in about 5 minutes." And then she'd be like, oh, she'd come in and she'd slam the door. I was like, "What are you doing?" She's like, "Never mind." And she'd get frustrated because she got sniped. So she kept upping and upping her amount. And finally she won a card. And this is the card she won. And I'm so happy she did. But this is easily in my top three. There are certain cards that when I come into my card room, I always make sure I make eye contact with. And this is one of them. One of my top three cards. In fact, I had a very in-depth conversation with my wife and my children. I said, "Look, I really want you to think, is there anything in my collection you would want if something happened to me?" And my wife said the only thing she would want to keep is she wants to keep the Satchel Paige. This card right here, the 53 tops. And I love this card. I mean, I'm so blessed to have it. It's a great card. And I'm just honored to have it. And I love the story behind it. My wife just spent all that extra time trying to find that card for me. So there's my example of my 53 top Satchel Paige. Love this card. So the second thing I actually got a few years later, and I found this as a deal, and it was really a surprisingly good deal, but I was happy to get it. And on Net54, and I bought this from a pretty well-respected member. And I haven't never showed this off, except you may zip by it in my room tour, but I've never shown this off. But I got this off in Net54, and this is my Satchel Paige, beautiful picture and a great autograph. And it's beautifully framed and matted, and I love this. I mean, this is a great signature, and I got a great deal on it, and you just can't touch a Satchel Paige autograph for what I paid for this so many years ago. But this is the second thing I've had. So for years, the two items that I had was the autograph and the 53. But just 2 years ago, as a surprise out of nowhere, my wife gave me a gift, and I've shown this before, and I just love this. So this is actually a stage. I'll show you where I put this stuff. But this is my Satchel Paige bobblehead, and this is great. I mean, it's from the Hall of Fame. It's got the the Hall of Fame placard on the bottom with his name, but the high leg kick, there's just something about this. And then finally, the last thing I got, and I have shared this before, but again, I will share it again, is in Strongsville this past year. I was able to secure this card, kind of a dream card and a big one, but I was able to get Satchel Paige rookie card from 49 Bowman. And, I know he's got his Leaf card, and I love the Leaf set, but there's just no way I would ever be able to feasibly get that card. I don't feel like I settled for this, though. I think this is a great card. I think it's a great example of this card. In particular, I'm not into grading, but I definitely want a decent example and something that I can enjoy and look at and not be focused on any of the defects if there's a defect on the card. And this falls in that category. So happy to have it. So I am 67% of the way there of the Satchel Paige card run with these two cards. And of course, I've got this amazing autograph and the bobblehead. And all of them sit up together. As you can see here, I have the Topps card in a different part of my rack, but I do have the Bowman, I have the autograph, as well as the bobblehead all together in a little segment I have. And I love them. I just love seeing them. When I come into the room, again, I look at them every single time. So, again, I didn't share anything new that you may not have known about Satchel Paige. But if you did know a whole lot about him, I suggest go look him up. Just type in Google and say, "Tell me something cool about Satchel Paige." And you could do that 80 times, and you get 80 different answers, because he was that intriguing. He had that much swagger. There was just something about him that was so much more than a ball player. He was just an attraction no matter where he went, because of what he did and the people that would follow him. So I love it, and I wanted to share that with you today. I hope you enjoyed it all. So until next time, you guys be good.